Okay, give everybody just one more minute and we'll get started. Hope everybody's having a great Thursday. Here in sunny Florida, it's hot, but it already rained a little bit today, so it cools everything down. Going to Louisville here in a couple of hours. Have never flown Breeze Airline, but I'm going to find out how Breeze Airline. How's it going, Nathan? I've made it to where you could talk if you raised your hand.
Hey, sorry about that. I was putting some tools away, so I put my phone in my pocket. Must have hit a button.
Okay, no problem. I just said, okay, sure, you can talk. All right, okay, thanks. All right, 30 seconds more, we'll get started. Thank you for your patience. This is a new time. We're doing these on Mondays, and we got some feedback that maybe Thursday afternoons would be better. We moved the time back a little bit to 2 o'clock instead of noon. But today we're going to talk a little bit about making that final shift. If you haven't heard about the new book, Ownership, it's basically how to make these shifts to take ownership of your life and just treat your life like a creator instead of a consumer, instead of a customer. And the final shift that we're going to talk about today, let me pull up my notes, is really going from operator to owner. And it's really the final shift that you make. And we're all trying to escape the time trap and control our capital and create real freedom. Well, if you have to work in your own business for 12, 14, 16 hours a day, that's not really creating time freedom. I'm not saying that's bad. It's better to work in your business than somebody else's. But if you can really leverage that to where you're not really self-employed, but really truly a business owner. So the lie of self-employment, is you're sold this dream of being your own boss, right? But the reality is you're the operator, manager, janitor, firefighter. You handle it all. And there's really three roles to get what you need to do to get from, there's three roles that a business needs. You need the operator. The operator does the work, right? You need a manager to organize the work. And you need an owner who designs and owns the system. And that business, kind of like Divvy, I have people that run Divvy better than I could run it, right? And they're the operators and managers of that business. I own it. So in their strategy calls, I'm on those strategy calls. We're brainstorming of where we're going to go next, how we're going to handle this with the customer or that. But I'm not in there day to day. In fact, it's in Iowa and I live in Florida. So that's more of what I'm talking about when I say the owner. You want to be the business owner. So we've shifted from thinking that we should be putting our money in a 401k, the Wall Street, and let the IRS and the government and the banks and Wall Street, everybody control it, to, okay, we shouldn't do that. Working for somebody else, we're helping their dreams come true and their vision come true. Now we're made the shift to where we're operating our own business, but we're kind of self-employed and we're still trading time for money. And we want to get to that next step where we have other people's money, other people's time, and other people's effort creating our freedom, right? Now we're rewarding those people. So it's a win-win. Okay. But remember, the owner designs and owns the system. If you disappear and the money stops, you're not the owner. You're an overworked technician or employee. Okay. So let's go back to this time for money trap. In some businesses, every new client is less time, more stress. Yes, more money. But then you've built a job, not a machine. You want to build a machine that operates with you or without you. And I remember back in 1992 or something like that, and Dan Sullivan kept on saying, like, you got to get it to where you're not important, where you're not important. Well, 1992 how old was I? Let's see, 27. Okay. 27. I did not understand that. I thought, no, I can't be not important, because if I'm not important, then nobody's going to need me. Right. And I would eliminate the need for myself. I was 27. I didn't understand, but, you don't want a job. You want a machine that works when you're not there. A friend of mine who owns a golf shop down here is going online. They have a great in-person business. It's amazing. It's the best golf shop I've ever been in my life. but their online stuff is not that great. And I know I've shared this before, but one day we're watching the US Open and on a Sunday, the final round, and his phone kept on going off. Ding, ding, ding. Every ding was a sale. He wasn't there. He's the owner, right? Somebody else is going to box up those golf clubs or those shoes or whatever he sold and ship them out. So he's already done the work. He created the system. He created the online system. So hustle culture glamorizes burnout, right? I mean, there's movie after movie after movie about burnout is stress, and all illness and disease come from stress. So we have to control our stress, right? Because we're going to have stress, but we can't create more and more and more stress until we have a stroke or a heart attack or some kind of disease or illness. So remember that there's our freedom equation. Time times leverage equals freedom. Effort times complexity equals trap. We want somebody else's time, somebody else's money, somebody else's effort. That's leverage, and we get freedom. Effort, just trying to get doing it harder and harder, more and more and more. That creates complexity because we're not good at all that stuff anyway. It's a trap. So why does traditional advice keep you stuck? Well, that's a great question. But there was a big headline yesterday, and it was something like this. Trump signs executive order so that 401k assets can go into private equity. Right now, what does that mean? That's a great question. Does that mean we can put money in real estate? Does that mean we can put money in life insurance? Does that mean we can put money? Who knows? But anytime it says 401k, what do those numbers mean? That is a code, a government code. We don't want the government in our pocket. I promise you, there will never be a scenario where you win. You might think you win. Hey, I got a refund. I got this. No, you didn't. You got a refund of your own money and you let them use it for whatever amount of months. So when you have a 401k and you're going to retire, which means to be taken out of service at 65, then you're going to distribute that money. And you better hope that it goes up that first year, because sequence of returns is so important. But you're going to hope for the rest of your life that you don't run out of money. Now, running out of money, is that stressful? Absolutely. If you're just going to hope that you don't, that's really stressful. And here's the thing. Stress causes what? Disease and illness. So we don't want to be stressed as we get older, right? So when you put your money in a 401k or something like that, you lose control, access, compounding when you hand your money to Wall Street. Why am I losing compounding? Because of the fees, expenses, taxes. Okay, you say, well, I'm on a 401k. I don't pay the taxes now. All you're doing is deferring the tax, right? So you're going to defer the tax because you want to pay tax on the big amount instead of the little amount. And you say, well, no, I don't. No, you didn't. But that's what they sold you. They sold you that this was a good idea to defer that tax. Because what they said is you're going to be in a lower tax bracket when you retire. But they didn't realize that you were going to do infinite banking. They didn't realize you were going to go buy cash flowing assets and become a badass, and you're going to be making more money in retirement than you are now. They didn't realize that. So what they told you was wrong, because you're going to be in a higher tax bracket because taxes are going up. It's math. Okay. The interest on the debt, Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security, it has to go up. People are living too long, right? Okay. So here's the real problem is you can't use the money when opportunity strikes. So when somebody's selling this great business that's cash flowing hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars and you want to buy it, what do you say? I don't have any money, because it's all sitting in this government Wall Street account that they're controlling. I can't get my money out, Jim. Well, ask Glenn about that, because he did. And he only paid 10% penalty because of cost segregation and depreciation. Don't know what those two things are? Then we can help you with that, right? So you can't, when you have an emergency or opportunity, you can't use your money. You're outsourcing your future to markets and a tax policy that you don't control, either one. Your money's locked up, but so is your freedom. So we know that's not the answer. Well, what about infinite banking? right? And everybody and all these videos online and all these guys that have never done infinite banking, never bought cash flowing assets, never bought businesses, or they've bought a few and they're like, flexing their guns in tank tops on Facebook trying to talk about how great they are at infinite banking. How about we make you great at infinite banking and not worry about how great your coach is at it. Okay. I've been doing this 38 years. I know how to do it. I don't have to show you that I know how to do it. I mean, I can tell you, ask me a question. You can ask me any question you want in the chat. I'll answer it. All right. So how do we use infinite banking to create lasting wealth? Traditional banks make billions using your deposits. And if you don't know how that works, look up on our course on community.createtailwind.com and look up how banks work. Okay. Or on YouTube. And I'll show you exactly in 5 or 10 minutes how banks work. Borrow, so your capital goes, instead of into the bank, it goes into a properly structured life policy. Not to have the highest cash value day one, but to have the highest cash value over time, right? To have the most access, the most leverage. You borrow against the cash value. You don't take your money out of the account. It's tax-free, okay? You deploy it into real assets. What are those real assets? Just met with a dentist this week, and he's going to buy all of his operatories. What are operatories? That's where they got the TV and the fancy chair and where they hide all of the drills and stuff behind your head so you can't see it coming. I'm just kidding. And the tools, all that stuff's expensive, right? They're gonna use their infinite banking system for that. So that's a real asset. Real estate, businesses, etc. What does the richest man in Babylon say? One of the 7 tenets that he teaches is invest in what you know. And you say, Jim, I don't know. Yes, you do. There's things in your life that you know that no one else knows, right? I don't know forestry, but I know Nathan does. And if there was an investment and Nathan said, hey, Jim, this is what we should do, I'm listening because I don't know what he knows, but he has a special, unique knowledge of something. Okay, so then you think about this for a second. It's an and asset. Your money's growing in this insurance contract, and you're buying these assets that are growing and cash flowing. So you have liquidity, control, tax advantages. You become the lender, not the borrower. What is the lender? The lender's the owner. You've made that shift from customer, borrower to owner, operator, lender, control. No control to control. Don't just make money, control the function of banking, and you'll make more money. So if we stop relying on banks to fund your own growth, okay, how are you going to grow your cash flow? If I said you were going to have $1 million a year coming in from cash flow, but you were never going to have more than $100,000 in the bank, would you be okay with that? I would, because cash flow is king, right? So in the real world moves, you use policy loans to buy real estate, acquire a company, fund the marketing blitz that you're going to do with your company to make more money, pay taxes or payroll. I've done all of these games. Remember, every dollar does 2 jobs. It's accumulating in that account, the insurance contract, tax-free. Okay. And it's going out and you're using other people's money, the insurance company's money, to buy those assets. You break the dependency on banks and investors. You build your own private wealth system, your own system that you control. Why play the game when you can own the stadium? You want to own the stadium. You don't want to be a player. Okay. Players get hurt. Look at Caitlin Clark. I just saw, a good friend of mine just sent me a thing. They're going to Indianapolis to see the WNBA All-Star game, and Caitlin Clark's not going to be in the 3-point contest or the game. So, all right. So here's operator versus owner. Okay. Now let's remember that. The trait. So I'm going to say, here's the trait. Here's what an operator does, and here's what an owner does. So the trait is time. Operator trades time for money. Owner buys time with systems, right? With systems. Income. Operator, active, stops when you stop. Owner, passive and recurring, outlives you. Role. The operator does the work. Owner directs capital and systems. The team. An operator has a support staff. An owner has empowered leaders. My team that runs Divvy, they are empowered. They make a lot of decisions that sometimes I think, oh, they didn't tell me about that. But I have to like step back and my little control freak head has to like get out of the way. Focus. Operator, tasks. I got to do these tasks. Owner, vision and leverage. That's where I'm focused, right? Freedom. Operator, it's really a fake freedom. Owner, real and scalable. Because I could do this over and over and over again with Divvy, right? Operators hustle, owners multiply and leverage. So remember Robert Kiyosaki's cash flow quadrant? If you're not familiar with that, then just look up Robert Kiyosaki's cash flow quadrant. So he has these 4 quadrants, these 4 squares, right? And he says on the top left, you're self-employed. You own a job, you have no leverage. On the bottom, you're an employee, you just have a job. On the top right is a business owner whose systems run everything. And then bottom right, you're an investor and your money just works for you. So your goal is to shift from top left to top right, bottom right. Okay. So you've gone from having a job to you own your job, you own a business, but now we got to go over to the right on the top and the left. The business owners, the systems run it, investor, money works for you. Okay. So that's our job. Here's the tools. Infinite banking plus asset acquisition equals financial freedom. Why infinite banking? Because you're controlling the banking function. Control, right? And you're leveraging asset acquisition, cash flow, asset accumulation, inflation protection. So you're just one shift away if you're that owner operator, right? You're one shift away. So here's what you have to do. Here's your challenge is fire yourself as the operator. Build your systems in cash flow. Control the capital, own the bank. So get this ownership book. Where can you get it? Well, it's not released quite yet. I thought it was going to be July 8th, but sometimes things just do not work out. We're going for August 1. Now, I do have some preliminary copies. And if you're on this meeting and you'll read this book kind of quickly, because I only have till August 1 to make changes. And you'll fill out this Google Doc, I think is what it is, a kind of evaluation for me. And you text me your address, because if you email it to me, people that are on this call that have done that, you'll find out that it didn't work out that well. So I'm just going to give you my number. It's to text me your address. Lydia, who's out in Nevada, will send it out to you. Okay, so get the book, read the book. Okay, it tells you how to make these shifts. In the book, there's a freedom audit, right? There's no QR codes in these versions. There will be in the August 1 version. And then start using your own system to buy back your time, income, and freedom. I'm creating this course on the science of getting rich by Waddles, is the author's last name, from 1910. It's a formula. It's a formula. And it's 10 days to make that shift, to get your mind right, your mindset right, to be wealthy. And you owe it to everyone that you love and that you care about, whether that's your family, a charity, your church, the kingdom, to be wealthy, because then you have impact. So we're not having money just to have money. We're having money to serve others, right? I mean, that's at a certain point, having that money is how we have impact. Okay, I'm going to go through the questions and see how many questions we have here. If you have any more questions, feel free. We've got about 9 minutes, so we can pound those out. Nathan says, I would only want to be self-employed in a business service I'm passionate about performing every day. And I totally agree, Nathan, but if you have somebody else running that business, I know there are other things that you're passionate about, that if there's plenty of money coming in, then you just go and do those things and have that impact, right? For instance, there's one of my neighbors, she's really passionate about helping Hispanic kids in this area whose parents don't speak English. She helps them learn English better, but because they're doing that in school, but their homework, who helps with homework if you don't know English, right? So that's tough for those kids. So, okay. So next question. Can a community create an infinite banking for the benefit of all? Well, you need, people have thought about that. It's a great thought. Okay. If you have insurable interest, then you can insure some other person. But the insurance companies through underwriting are going to say, is there an economic loss if something happens to this other person? Do you have an economic loss? Now, if you're running a business, then any of your key people, you have an economic loss. Partner, something happens to them, you have an economic loss. So there are some rules on there. Okay, so the phone number again, 9777, and just put your address and your name so that I can just copy and send it to Lydia, and she's 2 hours, 3 hours behind us. So she on the East Coast where I'm at. So she might be able to get that out for you today still. Okay. Matt says, I'm glad to be back. I know, Matt, I didn't wear a watch today, but I'm wearing the Sky Dweller up to Louisville. So it's like a great stainless everyday watch. So, oh, I'm so sorry that your dad passed away, Matt. God bless and Godspeed to him. And hopefully it wasn't, that at the end it can be, I'm hoping everything went as smoothly as it could have gone. So my condolences, but welcome back, Matt. Okay. So everybody, like I said, text me your address and everything, and I'd be happy to send it over. Okay, Brian, here we go. For some reason, if you get it screwed up, just send me an email at jimoliver@createtailwind.com. I'll make that work too. The other one's faster, but so, okay, perfect. I'm getting some addresses come through, and we will get those books out. So again, just one more time, 239-777-3624. And, tell me hey, if something doesn't make sense, I want this book to be good, and I want this book to help people. And these shifts, I promise you, if you do these shifts, it will change your life, right? And, one of the things that I think is amazing about the science of getting rich, how to win friends and influence people, everything that Dan Sullivan teaches, it comes back to this one thing. And this is what I'm going to leave you with today, is you have to have some kind of gratitude practice. And what I mean by that is Dan Sullivan would tell you to write down 3 things that you're grateful for every night, right? Totally down with that. But how about this? You got to go a little deeper. Is you write down the things that you're grateful for. Now, here's the trick. You write down the things that you're grateful for before you have. So you could say, I'm so grateful that I have $1 million a year coming in passively, that I don't have to go out and exchange my life for, because my life is measured in time. If I exchange time for money, then I'm exchanging my life for that money. And I'm so grateful that I don't have to do that, that every year over $1 million comes into me. Now, does it right now? No, but you're grateful for the future that you're building. You're grateful for the future that you're making happen. Okay. It will happen. You will focus on it. I focused on having abs by the time I was 60. Then it was, hey, I'm actually doing pretty well. So I'll do it by 1/1 of 25. I did. And you know what's funny? Haven't gained a pound since then. I'm working on building some muscle now, so I might not be as defined in my abs, but because I'm increasing my calories by 400 calories a day. But I'm trying to put on muscle, because my next thing is, I'm just kind of crazy. I go to the gym and I see these guys that are 35, and I think I can do that. And I'm convinced that my DexaFit, that does your biological age, I know in the next 2 years I can get that into my 30s, right? Hey, if I can't, I'm going to give it a heck of a try. And so so Nathan says, that's what I would want the passive income for, to do my passion without needing payment up front. Absolutely. That's what you want. Nathan, that's freedom. To do what you're passionate about. Do what you want to do, when you want to do it, with who you want to do it, right? With whom you want to do it. So that's what I'm talking about. That's freedom. Everybody wants that freedom. And if I gave you $1 billion today, this Sunday, Saturday, whenever you go to church, synagogue, or your favorite charity, if you don't go to church or synagogue, right? Would they get more or less than they got last week? I'm going to bet they get more. So you have an obligation to be as wealthy and influential and impactful and as passionate and free as God created you to be, which is omnipotent, right? You are omnipotent. God is omnipotent, but through God, you're omnipotent, right? All right. All right. Thank you all for hanging in there with me. I hope that helped. I hope that at least got you thinking about freedom and building a system. And I'm here to help. Like, come next week, ask questions. Hey, I'm starting to build this system, but I hit these roadblocks. Remember our voice system, right? It's the vision. What comes next? Obstacles. When you have those obstacles, find out somebody that is how you get through them, right? How do you get through those obstacles? I'm here to help. Everybody on this call is here to help. Our community is here to help. We're going to make this better and better and better. And we're going to help. We're going to have impact, and we're going to free people, because the only way that I'm going to impact 1 billion people is not by myself. It's helping you guys impact more people, and you help the other people impact more people, and so on. And it's that compound effect. So thank you all for taking the time to be here. Hopefully you'll be here next week. And yes, there will be, Rachel, the recording will be on the community, and I believe on YouTube. But Heather is not on here today. She had a meeting. So I will confirm that, Rachel, and make sure, but we can get that recording. So the YouTube channel, that's a great question. Okay, we're going to look up the YouTube channel right now because I don't. Rachel, send me a text and I'll get it to you, and I'll announce that next week. That way I'm not holding everybody up. But I think it's just create tailwind, but I don't think there's an underscore or anything else. But look for that. And then if you can't find it, text me and I'll help you find it. All right. And Nathan thinks it's create tailwind 182. Honestly, I guess I should know the answer to that question. So thank you, Rachel, for helping me realize I don't know the answer to that question, but I will get it. And I want you all to have a great weekend and Godspeed. And I will see you next week. Looking forward to it. Thank you.